He called me a sin, but the mirror called me home. I still remember that night like a bruise that never fades. Manchester, cold rain. I was 22, standing in the doorway of the house I grew up in, holding a suitcase that looked too small for all the years I'd spent hiding who I was. My brother, Daniel, stood there, his face red with disgust, our mother silent behind him, hands trembling, eyes refusing to meet mine. He shouted words I've never forgotten. "You're not my brother anymore. You're not even part of this family." I wanted to scream back that I was never his brother. I was his sister. But instead I just nodded, because sometimes silence protects what pride cannot. The door closed, and that was it. The rain hit my face like the world wanted to wash me away. I walked for hours that night, my heels clicking against wet pavement. Every window I passed reflected a stranger, someone between shame and survival. I didn't cry until the streetlights turned off. That's when I realized the world doesn't stop for broken hearts. It just keeps raining. Those first few months were a blur of cheap rooms and colder mornings. I worked at a cafe where no one knew my past. I wiped tables, served coffee, smiled when customers stared too long at my hands, my face, my voice. Every night, I'd go home, remove my makeup in silence, and whisper to my reflection, "You're still here. You made it through another day." Loneliness became my closest friend, but so did ambition. I started studying business online, taking free courses on marketing, branding, design, anything that could give my life a new name. When people asked where I found the strength, I told them, "It's not strength, it's survival wearing lipstick." I promised myself I would never be a tragedy. I would be the woman they said I could never become. Years passed. The world changed a little. I moved to London, found work at a small fashion company. The owner, a kind woman named Helen, didn't ask about my past. She only cared about my ideas. For the first time in years, someone saw me. Not what I used to be, not what I wasn't, but who I had become. I poured everything into that job. Late nights, sleepless mornings, ideas scribbled on napkins, and slowly my work started to shine. Campaigns that caught attention, designs that told stories, my stories. By 35, I was managing the creative department. By 40, I had my own brand. I called it Mirabella, Italian for wondrous beauty. It was more than a name. It was a declaration that every scar, every tear, every insult had built something beautiful. People began to know me, the elegant woman with the calm voice and the strong eyes. They had no idea where I came from. No one saw the rain anymore, only the glow. Then, one afternoon, my assistant buzzed me. "Ma'am, there's a young man here for an interview. He says he's your nephew." My heart stopped. I hadn't heard that word, nephew, in over 20 years. His name was Ethan Daniel's son. For a moment, I couldn't breathe. My brother's little boy, the one I used to hold when he was a baby. The one who used to tug at my hair and call me auntie before the world taught him that love had limits. He came in, tall and nervous, wearing a suit that didn't quite fit. When he saw me, he froze. Then his lips parted in disbelief. "Aunt?" I smiled softly. "Hello, Ethan." He blinked, struggling to find words. I didn't know it was your company. I just applied online. I really need this job." There was something fragile in his voice, something that reminded me of who I used to be. Lost, desperate, trying to prove myself. I looked at him for a long time. He looked so much like Daniel. Same blue eyes, same proud chin. But his expression was gentler, humble. "Tell me about yourself," I said quietly. He told me everything. His father's business had collapsed, his parents divorced, money gone, pride broken. He'd been searching for work for months, and now he was here, sitting across from the woman his father had thrown away. When he finished, he looked at me with tears in his eyes. "I know what my dad did to you. He told me. He said he was wrong." I didn't know what to say. All those years of silence, all that pain, And now his son, my nephew, was sitting before me, asking for a chance. I could have said no. I could have let history repeat itself. But something inside me, something softer, wiser, told me this was not a moment for revenge. This was a moment for grace. I hired him. At first, he was quiet, cautious, almost afraid to look me in the eyes. But over time, he began to open up. He worked hard, asked for advice, stayed late. One evening, he said something I'll never forget. "You're nothing like what Dad said. You're the strongest woman I've ever met." That night, when everyone left, I sat in my office alone, and I cried. Not from pain, from peace. Months passed. Ethan became one of my best employees. He brought light into the company. He made people laugh. And then, one day, my assistant told me Daniel was in the lobby. My heart skipped a beat. I hadn't seen him in 25 years. When he walked in, he looked older, thinner. His hair grayed, his eyes tired. For the first time, he looked smaller than me. Not in size, but in spirit. He stood there, silent, until his voice cracked. "I had to see you," he said. "Ethan told me what you've done, how successful you are. I had to say I'm sorry." For a moment I couldn't speak. All the memories came rushing back. The shouting, the humiliation, the rain, the door closing. Part of me wanted to stay angry, but another part just felt tired. I walked toward him slowly. He lowered his eyes, ashamed. I reached out and placed a hand on his shoulder. "It's okay," I whispered. "You don't have to say anything more." He looked up, tears in his eyes. "How can you forgive me after everything I did?" I smiled. "Because if I don't, I'll never be free." We stood there in silence, two people who had once been strangers bound by blood and pain. And in that silence, I felt something heal. He left that day a different man. And I finally let go of everything that once haunted me. Now, when I look out from my office window and see the city lights, I think about that night in the rain, how I thought I'd lost everything, and how, in truth, I was just being reborn. He called me a sin, but I became a woman of grace. He threw me out, but life let me in, and forgiveness, it didn't make him right. It made me free. I'm Isabella, and this is my story on Oma True Stories.